Hello again, guys. I'm here with another user requested how-to video. Today I'm going to be talking about how to swap, change, upgrade, replace your both motorcycle clutch and over there front brake levers. I'm going to start with a clutch here, and I hope to get to the brake as well. So first of all, you'll notice that I do have aftermarket shorty levers on here. I do actually, this is the stock one right here as well. So I'll just show you that they both install in the very similar ways. This one is just adjustable after the fact. After you've installed it, you can adjust this so it changes the distance between the bar and where the handle is. So I am doing this today on my 2009 Suzuki Gladius. It is pretty standard. The process is pretty standard on most bikes. I know it's pretty much the same on all newer Suzukis like this, so hopefully this will be pretty informative for you guys. But just so you know, today I'm doing it on my Suzuki Gladius. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to take this one off. Since I already have my aftermarket one on here, I'm not obviously going to replace it, so I'm just going to show you guys how to take it off, and then I'll put it back on. So the first thing you'll notice with my bike right here is this rubber covering right here. Now, if I take that rubber covering back, you can see right here there is a bolt, and that is what's obviously holding the lever on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this rubber thing, this rubber cover, if I can get it down my, come on, it may be a little tough because it has to get around some stuff. There it goes. Slide it down there a little bit so it's out of the way. You can see now that I have my bolt here, the main part of the lever right here is exposed, and now I also have my clutch cable adjustments right here. So basically all I need to do is I need to take this bolt right here off. Now if you move your hand down under and feel under there, you can't see it, but there is this is actually a bolt going down through, and there is a nut screwed onto the other side. So what I'm going to do is I have, for mine it is a 10mm bolt. So I am going to use both my 10mm ratchet right here and a 10mm wrench. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down under here, and it's not going to fit very well, so I'm actually going to use this because it's obviously longer and it can fit down underneath there. So if I put this down under there and I get it around that bolt, so now it's holding it, I can actually turn this to loosen it. Okay, so now you can see I have this right here is the bolt, and there's a little nut, so we'll put those back on after we're done. So now you can see that that is where the lever was pulled in, and now I can slide this out, and now it's on its own. Now if I turn this around, you can see right here this little thing. This is actually what attaches your lever to the clutch cable. So it's just this little, put in this little slot, and then down in here is where the actual cable is. You can kind of see it in the light there, and then it's going up into here. So all you have to do is slide this down. So I'm going to slide the cable out. You can see now that the cable is exposed in this little notch, and I can literally just push down with a little work, and now my lever is free. And you can see that compared to the stock one, these are pretty much exactly the same. They have that same little notch, the same hole for the screw, etc., etc. So now that you have your, say this is your new lever, your replacement lever if you drop your bike, or your aftermarket lever or whatever, all you have to do is now the reverse process. So you want to take this and find your clutch puller cable thing right here again, pull it out a little bit so you have enough slack, and push it down in to that hole again, lining up the cable with the notch so it's back down inside, and now you can see that that is back down in there, and the cable is in there. So you want to turn it a little bit, so now that the cable is back in here where it should be, twist this around and slide this back inside to line up the hole. Now, one quick thing actually I noticed before I need to put it in there. You can't very well see it on the camera, but this little button right here, on my bike, when you're starting the bike, you have to have the clutch pulled in. That's just as a safety measure, so that so it recognizes that when you squeeze the lever, this little thing gets pushed out, and it realizes the clutch is not in. So you have to be careful when you are putting this back in. You can see right here, I have this right here, this flat piece right here. That is actually what pushes that little button. So when you're pushing this back in, you need to make sure that you line it up right, that little button is pushed in, or else you can bend it, and if you break it, then it's a bad deal, because you have to replace that. Or I guess if you break it, it just means that your clutch will always think it's out and it will always start fine. But anyways, I have pushed that button in so it's against that flat metal piece, and now my hole is lined back up right here down there, so I can put my bolt back in now. So all you need to do, push this in a little bit so the holes are lined up properly, and get your bolt started. I'm going to twist it a little bit to get it going. Oftentimes what I do with this is I will screw it all the way down in there till it's flat. Now you can see the nut or the bolt is all the way in, and then I'll go down under here carefully with my nut. It's kind of hard to find the spot, but you just kind of get it started on the bottom of the bolt with your fingers. Okay, so I have it started down there now. And then take your ratchet and go under there and twist it tight. Alright, so now you can see as I pull this in, it pulls the clutch or the cable right there, and it's good to go. Now, so I have completely attached the lever. It's good to go. Everything's great. If you need to, you can adjust your lever tensioning while you're at it. Might as well. But then all you have to do, pull the rubber piece back on, line everything up properly, push that back over the nut or the bolt, and bam, your new clutch lever is on there. Alright guys, now we have moved on to the brake lever. Now this is going to be very similar to the clutch lever, except this time we don't actually have to worry about the clutch cable being pulled by it, because the brake lever works a little bit differently in the sense that when you are pushing this in, it actually pushes a button down in here, and that is the brake. So for this one it'll be a little bit easier. Now on my bike it is kind of difficult in the sense that these right here are in the way, and the little nut or the bolt top, which like we had down there on the clutch lever, is actually right here. So I do have to kind of try to turn this up out of the way as much as possible to try to get room down in there. Now this is a little bit different on my bike because this top bolt right here is actually a 8mm, which is what this is, and the bottom bolt is a 10. So I am using still the 10mm on my ratchet, but the 8 for my wrench. So I'm going to put that right there on there, and I'll hold it while I loosen the bottom nut. So I'm just going to go down here and start loosening it. And now you can see there is the nut for the bottom. So I'm just going to set this aside for now. I'll just put it right over there on the tank. And now we'll go ahead and loosen this top. Okay, so now I have taken the bolt out. I'm going to set it over with the nut. And you can see, voila, there's my brake lever right there. very similar to the clutch lever. Again, you have these little areas, and there's the hole that the bolt goes through. Now, on my bike, it's kind of hard to tell because this thing is right in the way. Let's see if I can move it up. But this little gray area right here, this is the actual button that the brake lever pushes when you pull it in. So on this, you don't have to worry about any cables or anything like that, because the button is all that's pushed. So now you have your clutch lever off, you have the old one off, you're putting on the new one, whatever. Again, very similar to the last, where you just do it in reverse order. So you just have to slide this back in here, make sure you have it lined up with the button. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, make sure your holes are all lined up, and take your nut, or your bolt rather, there's your bolt, put it back down through the hole till it's on there, and start screwing it in again. Again, with this one, I do tend to screw it in, screw the bolt in, and then screw the nut onto the bottom. And the nut is back on tight. I'll fix these so they're sitting properly, and now I can adjust this if I want to, and there you go. Brake lever is done, and it's pushing the button properly down there, and that's it. Alright, so there is your very easy clutch and brake lever installation. It takes, you know, when you're not recording a video, it takes 15 minutes to do at most, 10 minutes maybe. It's very easy to do. So if you ever drop your bike and you break a lever, or you want to put on aftermarket levers like I have, these nice blue ones, it's very easy. You just have to unscrew those nuts on each side, take the bolts out, and then on the clutch lever you just have to remove and then put in the clutch cable again. So that is it for today, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them and I'll get back to you. Thanks.